last? I think I'd want to start with that question. Mr. Francis.
Now, I would sum it up as patience. We all enter marriage with the hope that our marriage will be successful. Usually that hope is, it comes from expectations and also observation. Patience is, I think, the biggest ingredient for success in marriage. Mm-hmm. Many of the qualities that we need to succeed in marriage, we don't have them at the onset of the relationships. The partners usually have come from different backgrounds. Mm-hmm. They represent different histories, and therefore it takes time for them to gel and to produce that sync that now makes the marriage run successfully. I often encourage couples who think that they don't have what it takes to make it in marriage to consider that Rome wasn't built in a day. A beautiful marriage is a product of many years of, a certain kind of friction that will then produce that wonderful marriage they are expecting.
Dr. Jane?
For me, I can say so many things, but I think the basic among all those is starting off on the footage of a friendship. For me, I think that's so very important, because when you start off your marriage on the footage of a friendship, you're able to walk the walk together. When you're married to your friend, because so many people make a misjudgment, and there's a misjudgment that you don't get married to a person who you're close, otherwise the love won't last. No, when you marry your friend, friends weather situations together. And moments when love cannot stand the test, friendship stands the test.
Mm-hmm. Great. Dr. Julius?
Well, I think the factors they've mentioned are key. I will just add on them. Another thing that makes a marriage last is a lot of forgiveness. I say enter into marriage with a bag full of forgiveness, because many things will happen along the way. And if you are not forgiving, then it becomes a major challenge, and it can really shake up a marriage. And the second thing is also to have a determination, because when you enter a job, there are many people who will say, I will work here for 10 years, I will work here for 20 years. In the same thing, when you enter into a marriage, have that mentality that we are in for the long haul. Because if you're thinking that I will bail out anytime a challenge comes, then that marriage cannot last. Mm-hmm. So have that mentality that I am in here, not for a short time, but I will make things work out no matter what. Mm-hmm. Yes.
Now, we pose the same question to our viewers, and there's an interesting comment here from one. He calls himself Babalaki on Twitter. He says, honesty, being open, communication, and sometimes poverty.
Yeah. I like that.
Dr. Jade, your reaction to this?
Yeah, totally. I would say, when you go through a situation, especially because all the others are, self-explanatory, and somebody may wonder, why did he take a bit of poverty? Mm-hmm. I want to say at times, money has its own friends, and it has its own love life. And there is around some shillings that is not committed, and can go out for a dinner, go out for a movie, that can keep you together until the few shillings are not there anymore. And that's when the real test. And I think for marriages that have really stood the test, they've gone through that. Either a spouse loses a job, or a spouse the business of a spouse collapses. That is when you gel together. It is the make or break of a marriage. And that's when you get to know the person at their lowest. And when you get to know a person at their lowest, you will even sail together when you're at your highest.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Dr. Julius, you did agree with that. You actually laughed. No, I read it out.
No, I laughed because I think that was a true test. We went through a lot of luck and want in the first few years. And I think after the time passed, you look back and you realize that this person is in your life, not for the money that you have, but actually for who you are. And a lot of marriages break up at that point when there is poverty. Because there are so many people who say, especially, let me say, ladies, they sometimes give up very easily.
I love the way she's looking at you.
Yeah, especially ladies. When you have no money, that's when you hear guys calling in and telling you, my wife is no longer respecting me. My wife has started maybe seeing a guy who has got more money than me. And that is a true test. I will say, when we went through the crisis, I think 2 years without a job, and she stood by me, she would sometimes get out and go sell some stuff, and come back, and here I am, I don't even have coins to go out. And I never at one time heard her say something like, you are useless, or I never wanted to get married to such kind of a guy. And after the season was over, 100% I knew this person is not in my life because of anything that I have. It's because of who I am.
You've answered me, but let me ask still, as a man, what does that do to you? What does it make you feel, having this woman that truly is there for you in the good times and the bad times?
I tell you, you feel like more than a king. You know, a king feels good, but you feel more than a king. Because a man is defined by a job. Most men are defined by the work they do. That's when if you meet any guy, the first thing they'll ask you, what are you doing? Not how are you. But so when you don't have the job, it's like strips you of all the honor, all the dignity that you have as a man. And so when your wife or your lady standing with you, when you don't have the dignity that actually holds a man together, then you feel you are with the right person.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Now, still on that, Mr. Francis, also as a relationship expert, nowadays we hear most, sorry to say, but ladies, I'm sorry, you know, I want a man with a car, a man with a good job, and probably, what do you even have? I mean, what are you bringing on the table? Do you encounter that a lot?
Yeah, quite a bit. Long time ago, relationships did not exalt money as a basis for, you know, partners pairing up. We are seeing a lot more of that these days. I think it has to do with the change in value system in the society. We are educating our children. We are teaching them independence, financial independence. We are demonizing poverty and struggle and all that. So by the time they are pairing up, they are saying, I don't want to start at a very base level. I don't want to scratch. I don't want to enter a relationship in poverty and so on. But I personally think a little bit of adversity brings out qualities of endurance in a couple. If you have not struggled over something together, the strength of your relationship is wanting. And I'm a Christian. I believe that sometimes God blows away all these things we have accumulated. Yeah, so that we can learn to love each other minus the factors of money and economic stability and so on. I want to put a caveat to that, though. Poverty by itself is not good. It produces friction, and if a marriage is dealing with friction for the length of it, it is threatened. It is good to learn to support each other in seasons of adversity and so on, but if that is prolonged, I think there is sufficient evidence that when there are economic issues, in fact, even when the economy of Kenya and any other society gets into depression, it affects marriages. There's a direct relationship between difficulties in the economy and the strength of marriages. If the life of the marriage is all about economic friction, there are many threats. There's no assurance that that marriage is going to really survive or thrive. So a balance is good, but definitely a struggle has its wonderful place in the equation of making strong families. Mm-hmm. Yes.
You'll be telling us more about the cases that you've dealt with.
Yes.
Dr. Jane, Just a follow-up question on what Dr. Julius here told us. Let me take you back to those days when he said, you know, he did not have a job for 2 years and you stood by him, and not even a single day did you ever complain, not a single day did you make him feel less of a man. Why?
Because for a start, I never married him for the money. And had a and let me first say this, marriage is for mature people. And I was mature enough to understand that seasons change. You know, seasons change. And I knew we were in a season that I needed to support him. Actually, I looked at it as us. That this is what is happening. It was very unexpected because it happened, he lost his job during our honeymoon. And so you can imagine, you're living honeymoon, the car is gone. And you know, we were staying in a place where you could not have stayed without a car because of accessibility to the road. And the car is gone, the security that had taken you to that kind of a location where you are living is gone. And you know one thing, and this is what I would like to tell the women, that's a time when you actually earn your respect. And I tell ladies, and I think they need to listen to me, because as he said, there's so many women today who are looking at the height of the wallet, not the height of character. I knew one thing, with or without the wallet, the man is here with me to stay. I got into marriage to stay. And the reason why God put me there is because I was his, and I still am his helpmate. And what is a helpmate for? When you can't lift the table, I can help you lift the table. And the beautiful thing, I'll tell you, Grace, to this date, my parents never got to know about the days would almost sleep hungry. I needed him to earn and maintain and sustain his respect. Because I know seasons change. And when seasons change, how are you going now to validate him before the very people with whom you demeaned him?
Sure.
Yes, so for me, I was there knowing this is a season. And even if, you know, I got to a point, it was a bit long, I told myself, if this is to stay, God give me the grace to provide. Just give me the grace and the humility to do the same. And I want to say this because of ladies who are making money. Perhaps their husbands are going through transitions and the men go through hell. They go through hell, mini hell. And I want to tell them, life is in seasons. Life is in seasons. The season that man rises up from that deep, he will not respect that woman again. Yeah.
You're smiling, Dr. Julius. I need a reaction on that.
No, it's actually the reality, because I think young people need to hear, especially those people who are right new in marriage, because for us, we had entered into marriage without the counseling. So we were not prepared for all that was happening. And as she says that any lady who does not understand that there are seasons, and if you don't look at that man and see the potential that is in him, then later when he gets his own job, that's where revenge comes in. You find he remembers. Mm-hmm. And men sometimes can remember stuff. He says, okay, they used to do this to me when I was without money. Now you're not in my life, I will enjoy my money with somebody else or something like that. I would not wish anyone to go through such a stuff. But at this particular moment, when your man has got no job, accord him the respect. I say this, sometimes as Akuka said, God will allow things to happen. Because marriage, I look at it like two eggs. And you know, for eggs to become nice and lovely, they have to be fried. And sometimes they are beaten together. So God will allow sometimes beat you together through some challenges so that you are able to gel together. And when you're put on that pan and you begin to fry, then your savor of your marriage begins to flow out to other people. The reason why I believe all of us here can talk to marriages is because we have been fried. And now we are ready to be roasted. And sometimes you almost feel like you're burnt. Yeah. But when you get out of that place, the sweetness of what you went through, or the sweetness of that smell, begins to attract people and they want to listen to you. And when you speak to them, then your marriage changes because you carry something that is in you, and the trueness of what you've gone through changes other people. Mm-hmm. Yes.
But then, Mr. Francis, on what Dr. Julius here has told us. There are those people who I've had, I can't remember anyone that I know personally, but there are people who, what we call hustle, they hustled together, started from scratch with nothing. Then now that you have, you know, you're at a good place in life, the man now starts seeing other women. I mean, what happened to the woman you started with from scratch?
It is said that a man is tempted when he has money. A woman is tempted when she has no money. In fact, the advice that has been flying around before Valentine was that the formula, therefore, to avoid the temptation is men make the money and then give it to the woman.
Good, lovely.
I know.
The reality is that for that scenario where people have been hustling, as you've put it, we probably did not know the true character of the person, because money has a way of bringing out the truth of who you are. Money has a way of illuminating to the world where your value system is. There are people who are humble because they are poor. And that's why...
You're right.
Yeah, because money gives you options you never had before. Yeah. In fact, that's what money does. It gives people option. We have witnessed that there are people who cross over from the low neighborhoods, economic neighborhoods, to the high neighborhoods. And when we compare their lives, especially their family lives, when they were poor and now when they have much, they are less successful, you know, when money comes. Because money, there's a delusion that, that the absence of money is sort of a disease that gets cured when money comes. That's not true. Of men mostly, and I think I agree with your observation, of men mostly, when we get money, we start getting wings and we start having ideas. In fact, a man begins to think, I have so much money, I think I need to share it around with a little more, you know, a lot more people, including other women. I believe that your value system should be developed even when you do not have money. So that today we should preach to the rich and the poor alike to anchor their life on values that will uphold them, whether they slide into more poverty or they slide on the way of wealth. But it is true that money shows us your true character and where your value is. In fact, I think as a Christian, I know that there's a Bible challenge that says, what shall it profit a man
to gain the whole world,
to gain the whole world and lose his own soul? Because the soul tends to gyrate towards destruction, towards you know, issues of pride and so on. We know that there are people who are very humble, and when they get money, they become arrogant. They start, you know, dishing out insults and all manner of arrogance. Watch your heart when you do not have money, because money tends to amplify what you truly are. That's what I can say. Yes.
On a lighter note, it just reminded me of some of my friends on Facebook who ask God to bless them with, you know, a few shillings here and there just to see their true colors, because they don't even, they don't know themselves.
Oh, they don't know themselves.
You know, that's on a lighter note. Dr. Jane, still on that, they say for a man, once he gets a lot of money, he wants more women around him. But for us, we sort of like want independence. We now feel we don't need the man anymore. I mean, I have everything I need. Do you agree?
Let me say, for many women, that is happening. And you realize there's a group of women, sorry, there's a group of women who got good high-flying jobs, and I say just a small group, and they're out to have perhaps a child, and they'll tell a man, you know what, all I need from you is a child. And that has been very common. For us who are counselors and in the position where we sit, that has been very common. And then we look and assess and think, you're intelligent, I want an intelligent child. But they look
your
at the
complexion.
man. Yes, your complexion. I don't mind your nose. And then you know what?
Wow.
They get one that looks like their great-grandfather, who's not very attractive.
So what do you do after that?
You love the child. However, I've seen the values of women change in this generation with perhaps a lifting of financial status. And most of them look at a man as baggage. Why? Number one, they are not well schooled in the school of relationships and marriage. The first person who schools a woman, or even a boy, any person, a child, is number one, the family setup. Most of them grew up in very acidic family setups, where perhaps there was bitterness of divorce, separation, anger, and a lot of words that were very corrosive, that were being thrown around, and they eroded the trust of men in them. So some of this is inbuilt with age. They've had it from the aunties who are their mentors. At the smaller age, they looked at that auntie, and the auntie kept saying, you know, I don't need any man, you know, and there are words that are said, I wouldn't want to mention them, and, you know, they've been said over and over, and so they rub into this mind. So what does this lady grow to pursue? Not the value of family, but money. Why? Because they feel like money will satisfy their need. Now, later on in life, and perhaps let them hear this, at a stage where now money does not give you everything, because, you know, it has its fleeting joy for a moment. But after the fleeting joy is over, they realize time is gone, my age mates are married, I can't get a man, now it's too late, so kindly women be warned. What do? They look for Ben 10. That is the initial beginning of Ben 10s. These are women who felt I'm too independent, or a man will become too much in my life. Later on, they realize I need a man around me. And most of them tell us, I'm not afraid of being a second wife. I just want a man. So let the listener know that money can never become a husband. It can never. It will buy you a good shoe. They value the joy of a relationship. And I think they also need to hear more people who are happy in marriage talk about the joys of a happy marriage. The satisfaction and the fulfillment of a woman who's married and is happy, and who can also be married happy and has a few shillings and still honors and respects the husband.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Dr. Julius, you mentioned counseling. Mm-hmm. I'd like to know, how important is it, you know, once I met someone and we plan to get married, is it really important for us to go through counseling before, you know, taking our vows?
I would say it's absolutely very important. The thing is, many times we don't, I think it's only in marriage where you go for a few sessions, like for 3-4 months of counseling. Sometimes you even find, like us, we had one, you know, we were just asked a question before, and the person asked us, do you have money? You said we have some of it.
What do you mean by do you have money?
Yeah.
It's relative.
Have you slept together? No. Okay, you guys will work it out. But we didn't know that there was so much we didn't know.
Yeah.
And I say counseling opens your eyes. It doesn't make your marriage successful. But when the challenges come, it's just like when you go to some mechanics workshop. You don't know everything about the car. It doesn't mean that when the car breaks down, you'll be able to fix anything. But at least you'll know where the problem is coming from. And that is what counseling does. It opens your eyes to realize that when you feel that your marriage is creaking on this side, then there may be a little change that may have to come. I say, in our first 2 years, we had a terrible time. Terrible. And in fact, she's saying an understatement. Then I say understatement. But it was terrible. And you look at the same partner that you vowed that will never leave you, but this time you're almost feeling, I want out. But when we sat down with the counselors, Bishop Alan and Kathy, those are the people who counsel us. We sat with a day with them, and our eyes were open to some of the stupid things that are making our marriage not work. And I began to work on them. One of the things, I think I was finding it so hard to tell her I love you. When I married her, I think that was like a statement. I love you and don't ask me again. And if I change my mind, I'll tell you. So wow. I didn't know that was killing her. It was making her look at me and wonder, what is this thing that I married? So what I'm saying is that counseling is so important. Before marriage, and even if your marriage is going through a crisis, don't be too proud to say that I cannot go for counseling. As men, we take our cars when they break down to people. When we try to repair them, we take them to mechanics. Why can't we take our marriages when they are breaking down to a person who seems to know much more? I think counseling is so, so crucial.
Can I say something about counseling? I'm involved in regular counseling, preparing couples for marriage, both at group level and individual level. And counseling is so critical. In fact, sometimes it makes the difference between the relationship progressing to marriage or not progressing. In fact, these days we advise couples that they should take counseling before they set plans for the wedding. Sure. Because counseling is the process that helps you to know whether you, first of all, to become self-aware. Who are you? What are you looking for in marriage? What are you looking for in a life partner? And why this particular partner? Why not the other man? Why not, someone older or younger, or richer or poorer, or, fatter or thinner than you? Why? And we have seen many, many times that after 2 or 3 sessions, there are people who say, I don't even need the rest of the sessions. My eyes are already open to the fact that I am the wrong person for this process. Because counseling, that's what it does. It really zooms the responsibility you are just about to enter into and shows you what you're going to encounter. In the absence of counseling, people have made great, great, great blunders. We know people who enter into marriage and even right during honeymoon. They ask, what have I done? What is this I have done? What's this relationship I have entered into? And we have had, even people in the limelight who,
I understand.
Yeah, during honeymoon, they decided, no, this is not for me. After saying the vows, they just decided this is too much. Counseling is so critical, without which I think a young couple will be making a serious blunder. Yes.
What are some of the reasons those who opt out before proceeding to marriage gave?
They realized that they were walking down a path with somebody who was continents apart in areas that were very critical for the success of marriage.
But don't you see it when you're dating?
Dating by itself is I think it tends to be, in this very choreographed environment, we all meet when we look the part. If you're dating as a lady, you're meeting in public places, yeah? In restaurants, you go out, you're always in your best element, yeah?
He's never seen me with no
without
makeup
and all that.
Next day I look like
you handle
else.
your money separately, he handles his money separately. Your people, his people, what they are, the backgrounds you're coming from. It is the process of counseling and a strong mentorship hand that helps you to actually see the reality of the worlds the two worlds that are coming together. If they are not synchronized, there's a disaster waiting. Yes.
You want to add on to that?
Yes.
Yeah, I really would want to add on to that. When you go for counseling, for us, because we also do, the full scale of counseling, about 12 hours, there's one thing you would want to, number one, to the partner to understand your expectations. When you're dating, the expectation is we meet, there's a goal. We are meeting to have coffee. Or we are meeting for lunch, the goal is met. But what are my heartfelt expectations of life in a relationship? And that is where most of the challenges are beginning. Where I expect a different set of expectations that I imagine that you're a prophet and a seer to know. And that is the foundation of problems in a marriage. We assume He knows I needed this. He knows I'm this kind of a person. He or she does not know. So when we sit down for counseling, that's when you open their eyes to understand who the other person actually is. And they also let you understand simple definitions. What do you define love as? You know, these are primary, and these have been issues that have caused a lot of issues. What does he define submission as? Everybody has got their own set of definition. When you begin to define exactly what we expect, the other person is better equipped to offer the expectations. And even to know, at this level today, I was not able to meet it. Also to understand, what is his or her language of love? What do they define love as? Because somebody may be giving you gifts, but perhaps that does not touch you. That's not your language of love. For you, what you need is quality time. And this gentleman thinks, I need to buy a plot and build you a house so that you feel mama wa kwake. So he's not around. After a job, he's going to do a side hustle and another one. For you, you didn't need that big gift. You first needed him. You needed time with him. So it's during counseling sessions that us as professionals, we are able to understand, break down and decipher. This is who this is, and you receive the person or you leave the person. Simple as it is. You say, this package is not my package. Finally, you're also able to understand the baggages people have at that moment, so that you can help them to be single before marriage. Single before marriage. Why do I say single before marriage? Because so many people carry so many baggages, and they think that you're going to complete me, so I'm so half, I'll get my strength from you. No, deal with your own baggage. And some baggages people are not aware that they carry. So it's during counseling, they're able to understand this one has baggages from secondary school, primary school, the time they were born, or the family they grew up in, that will influence negatively or positively. Usually baggage is negative, that will influence negatively the outcome and the quality of your marriage. So you're able to work out on that baggage as an individual. Sit down, have a meeting with you, be single, let go of the things that you feel are holding you back. Be ready, be whole. During counseling, people leave that place, your sessions whole, to meet another whole person. Dealing with their past wounds, heal, meet a person who has gone through everything. You know why? Because if you meet a broken person and another broken person, but they're all in lipstick and a tuxedo, let me tell you the truth, when you go home and the lipstick and the tuxedo is down, you meet brokenness. And brokenness never makes a home.
Yeah.
Indeed,
Right.
yeah. Indeed. Let's take a break. Of course, stay with me. I'll be back with you, Dr. Julius, on compromise, because I've gotten a bit of it from what Dr. Jane here has said. But a lot of your feedback, remember, we are asking what you think makes marriage last. CK Kogi says kuvumiliana. Samuel Nderitu says heshima. Goosebumps. Okay. He says understanding yourself through and through, who you are as a person, choosing the best suited partner, and understanding their entire backstory. And Babalao, he says communication. That's all. Keep it coming at Grace Korea KE, at KTN is KE. Let's take that break. Stay with us.